Welcome back to my G1 Retro Reviews. Today, we're taking a look at the original Transformers series episode, Forever is a Long Time Coming. By the way, I know some of these episodes might be in a different order, what with the production order versus the air date order, but I'm just going to go with the order that they're presented in on TF Wiki. I'm not going to deal with that whole mess that I had in Season 2. So, moving on, in this episode, some of the Transformers travel back in time. And you know how much your girl loves a good time travel story. We begin with some of the Autobots flying through space? What is this, more than meets the eye? Yeah, for some reason the Autobots are able to fly like the Decepticons here. Maybe they finally reverse engineered that Decepticon tech.
Oh, Perceptor! Those asteroids been there 1 billion years!
1,200,043 and 7 months to be precise.
That was Rewind with the stats on where it's at!
That is Rewind's first speaking line. And yes, it came from inside of Blaster's bosom. Rewind is actually voiced by Townsend Coleman, who you may know as the Tick from the series of the same name, Michelangelo in the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon, as well as countless other voice roles. But of course, he would eventually return to the Transformers franchise to voice everyone's favorite oil stain, Sentinel Prime in Transformers Animated. So, the Autobots come under attack by the Sharkticons, but they quickly blow them all up. I forgot how violent this show is sometimes. Poor Sharkticons, they were kind of cute. The Autobots discover that the Quintessons are messing with time. The animation isn't great here, but apparently the other Autobots, except for Perceptor, somehow end up going through the time portal. It's interesting how when Rodimus finds him, Percy's optics spark and then smoke, possibly indicating that they blew out for some reason. This reminds me of when the same thing happened to Perceptor in Cyberverse. So, does that mean that Percy is blind? Just then, a mysterious bot materializes in front of them.
What in the name of Alpha Trion?
Well, you're not wrong there, Roddy. The other Autobots find themselves back on Cybertron, where they are quickly attacked. And it's funny how Rewind leaps back into Blaster's cleavage, who himself transforms and flies into Blur's cockpit, kind of like the Russian nesting dolls of Transformers.
Do you realize what that is, Blur?
No, but you're going to tell me, aren't you? I can always tell when you're going to tell me something.
It's a Guardian from the earliest days of Cybertron, even before the Great War against the Decepticons.
I like this Rewind. Don't get me wrong, IDW's Rewind is still pretty cute, but G1 Rewind is my kind of bot. He spouts off references before I can. Yes, this is a Guardian robot, aka a blue repaint of Omega Supreme. Although, in this episode, they appear more lavender in color. The last time we saw them was in another time travel episode, War Dawn. Funny how the aerial bots were heavily featured in that episode, and they also appear in this one, but make no comment about having to deal with time travel again. The Autobots are rescued by a female bot, Beta, the first new girl bot we've had in this show since RC. And before her, Alita 1 and her crew. She explains that the Autobot symbol as we know it was originally a mark of slavery to the Quintessons. Gee, I sure am glad that I don't wear that. Blaster asks Beta if she has a boyfriend.
A3's your main man?
Our leader, yes.
I think Beta and A3 are just friends. By the way, Beta is voiced by Sue Blue, the same voice actress as RC.
Don't you see? If the Quintessons could stop the Autobot rebellion in the past, it'd change the future.
Whoa, this is heavy.
Did I mention that I really like this version of Rewind? He does my job for me. Suddenly, some of the other Autobot rebels appear behind Beta, and all of them seem to share the same model, but some of them appear to be more feminine and others more masculine. Kind of like the Seekers in Cyberverse. So that's pretty cool. Back in the present, the time window is leaking chronal energy into space.
Great Scott!
And the Quintesson scientist explains its potential results. Time loops, like in the first Doctor Strange movie.
Dormammu, I've come to bargain. Dormammu, Dormammu, Dormammu.
reverse time, like Link's new power in Tears of the Kingdom, past and future colliding, which makes it sound like something from Back to the Future or the more recent Kingdom series, but in the show, they have Marissa Fairborn turn into a baby. Yeah, I don't think that's how that works. Unless, of course, there's suddenly an adult Marissa Fairborn in the past.
Yeah, people don't understand time. It's not what you think it is.
That's not how it works.
Well, that's what I heard.
So the Quintessons assault the asteroid to destroy the time window before it destroys reality.
Granted, that's a worst-case scenario. The destruction might in fact be very localized, limited to merely our own galaxy.
Well, that's a relief.
In another weird bit of animation, A3 is somehow launched into space by an explosion. I think. Fortunately, he is saved by Superion. Funny how the aerial bots were partially created by Alpha Trion in the key to Vector Sigma, even sacrificing his life to bring them online. They later traveled back in time to save Orion Pax by bringing him to Alpha Trion, who rebuilt him into Optimus Prime, who also helped build the aerial bots. And now they've saved A3 so that one day he himself may become Alpha Trion. I love it!
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
Okay, I'm starting to get a migraine.
We better get used to it. This is going to get worse before it gets better.
Two of them? How is it possible? The chronal force, warping time around the asteroid. Superion is literally in two places at once.
You mean like the Avengers during the time heist in Endgame? The Autobots better work fast, as reality itself begins to unravel.
What's happening to the sky?
They're starting to come through and I can't stop them.
There's gotta be something we could do.
Even the Quintessons are willing to work with the Autobots in order to save the universe.
We must put aside our differences. The fate of the universe depends on our cooperation.
You better listen to him, Roddy. I've seen a lot of time travel movies. This won't end well if you don't get your tailpipes in gear.
A Quintesson trick?
Even they don't have this kind of power.
You're right about that. They don't have the magic of editing. That kind of fourth wall breaking is reserved for folks like me, She-Hulk, Deadpool, Ferris Bueller, Mike Myers, etc. Back in the past, the rebels fight the Guardian robots.
You will now put down your arms and return to work, or the Dark Guardians will incinerate you where you stand. Please decide quickly.
So these aren't regular Guardian robots, they're Dark Guardian robots. Hence the purple tint. Great, now another repaint to buy. Also, it's nice that he said please. In the present, the Autobots finally act. A3 goes back to the past, and the others return home.
Okay, I guess we can trust you to win this one. After all, you already did.
Now you're thinking fourth dimensionally, Blaster. Perceptor finally wakes up.
Rodimus, we must close the time window or the consequences.
Yeah, thanks, Percy. Already taken care of.
It just hit me. A3, A for Alpha, 3 for Trion. You don't think...
What? That was the guy who created Optimus Prime?
I would like to think that of all bots, it would be most obvious to you aerial bots. I mean, he did turn into Alpha Trion in your very hand earlier. And he doesn't really look all that different anyways. It's just his beard is shorter and he doesn't have as fancy a helmet. And that realization is where we end this episode of the original Transformers. A pretty good episode. I liked all the timey-wimey stuff in it. I liked the idea of this episode. And it was very cleverly written. It's just a shame that the animation was so poor. And honestly, I wouldn't have minded it if this was a 2 or even 3-parter. I would have loved to have seen the Autobots hang around in the past more. And I would have liked to have seen more effects happen in the present. I mean, can you imagine if they pulled a Justice League Unlimited and had different characters swap places suddenly as if they were already there? Like how the Green Lantern changed from Jon Stewart to Hal Jordan. What if Rodimus Prime changed to Optimus Prime? Or heck, Why not Arceus Prime or Ultra Magnus Prime? What would you call an Ultra Magnus that was a Prime? Ultra Prime? Nah, that doesn't sound right. Or what about by meddling in the past, they somehow changed some of the future? You know, like in Back to the Future? What if, by helping the rebels in the past, that made their timeline better in the present? Maybe that's what happened. Maybe that's why, even though we clearly saw his ship explode, in the later episode, The Return of Optimus Prime, the humans discover Optimus and his ship fully intact. Because that Optimus, the one at the end of the series, is not the same one from the beginning.
How did this all happen?
The original Optimus is still dead, still blown up and gone. This one is actually a time-displaced duplicate, who maybe was going to be destroyed much like the original, but was spared by the chronal energy leaking into the universe, shunting him to a slightly different time. After all, this is chronal energy. It probably doesn't move in just space, but time as well, much like the transwarp wave in Beast Wars, which hit depth charge. Who knows? Maybe it's even responsible for sending Starscream's ghost to prehistoric Earth and back. But I'll leave that for fanfiction writers to think about. Overall, a fun episode. I'm just left with one question. Did Marissa remain a baby, or did she return to her normal self after the time window was closed? I think we'll find out in a future episode. Well, let me know what you thought of this episode of G1 down in the comments. Remember to like, subscribe, and do all that other fun stuff. And I'll see you back here for the next episode of G1, Starscream's Ghost. Hey, see? It all fits. Well, I'll see you back here next time for that.